Social media. Everybody's posting. And I'm shocked that Mexican Mafia members, made guys, are doing this. Is it the best practice to put out business on social media? These are real mobsters doing social media content from their cell on a cell phone. You got the AB, the MA, the NF, all utilizing social media. But for active members to do this is a whole different ball game. My name is Rene Enriquez, and you are watching Uncensored. Something we all delve in every day and something we do every day. What could that be? Social media. Social media has become the mainstream source for all information we receive. Like, I'm just spitballing here, and I think probably 75% of the public gets all their information from social media. Like, physical newspapers, magazines, and books are out now. Everybody goes to social media to get their information, right? I'm going to pose the question, how does that affect the mafia? How does that affect criminal organizations, right? Do they access social media? Do they utilize social media? Well, that's something we're going to address today. There's camaradas from everywhere posting pictures. These are just two of them. One's from Victorville and one of them's from Oklahoma, right? These are Sureños posting prison pictures. In fact, they go through the pictures and identify people. This is so-and-so from so-and-so, and we're in Big Sandy, or we're in, Lompoc, and we're here and we're there. And they're posting videos and images everywhere. Everywhere. This is just two that I picked, right? But what really caught my attention was these two cats right here. The first guy is Caps, Crash Out Caps. He talks about being in federal prison and how he talks to the big homies, and the homies ain't going to talk to him that way. Like high power stuff. This guy got on social media and he's talking about that he uses the N-word and nobody's going to tell him not to use the N-word. Well, he got his wish. He's on social media now, and all the carnales are going to see it. They've probably seen his post, and I dare say, speaking that high-powered stuff is going to get him in a jam. It's going to get him in a jam. I would advise him to stop doing that. Just stop talking about big homies. Stop talking about how you talk to them, and stop telling them about how they're going to respect you, because this is going to get these guys in a wreck, right? Because as much as they post, carnales are also watching it. And they said, oh, you're a tough guy. Well, wait till you get here. The other guy, he calls himself Frontline Hog. And he posts regularly as well. I've only seen a couple of the previous guy, Crash Out Caps. But I see many of this other guy, Frontline Hog. In fact, he was talking about people speaking about the black hand in one of his clips. And I'm like, whoa. He has a little grill, and he's regularly posting. And he talks about actives. In fact, the caption on this video says, all active camaradas keep grinding for the better. Why would you even speak about being active? Why would you even say to anybody you're active? Why would you need that recognition? Why would anybody post this who's an active participant in the organization? You should know better, right? And I'm not saying that what they're doing is wrong, but I'm saying from the perspective of longevity. Yeah, your own personal longevity in the organization, this is not going to be viewed nicely. You may have haters out here, and both of you do, just like I do, right? You're also going to acquire those haters in prison. They're going to see this and say, who are you to speak on this? Who are you to even mention our name? That's what the cardenales are going to see, right? And they're not going to like it. There may be some that say, oh, it's not that everybody's on social media. It's cool. But there are going to be some that are going to say that. So, look, again, I'm not critiquing anybody for doing this. I do it, right? So before anybody says pot calling the kettle black, I say everybody has a right to post whatever they want. That's cool. But if you're involved in a secret criminal organization, it's not the smartest thing to do. Because not just we see it, the feds see it, law enforcement see it, and I bet you your bottom dollar they're copying everything that comes out if these people are even peripherally involved in an investigation. A digital fingerprint, right? You're leaving everything out there, and it's easily traceable. So that's what I'm saying, is that if the organization is an organization, it's a criminal organization, right? Because it ain't the Cub Scouts. We know that, right? We know that. It ain't the Cub Scouts. Why would you post stuff out there? I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it if I was an active criminal. I never did it. Obviously, social media didn't exist at the time, but I wouldn't have done it even if I had the opportunity. No. I was already under too much controversy, and I couldn't stand this. I couldn't stand a bunch of cardenales critiquing me for posting on social media. critiquing me for posting on social media. And maybe these carnales that are doing it and these organizational figures that are doing it can withstand that kind of scrutiny, and they have that much juice. I didn't have that much juice. I couldn't have survived that. I know that. I was already under far too much controversy. I remember before you couldn't talk to the media. You couldn't acknowledge the existence of the organization. You couldn't even do a generic interview about anything because it was like against the rules. And the first one to break that mold was Raul Leon. He's the first one that went out and did an interview for MSNBC, walking around in his chonies, with his chest all puffed out, and he caught a lot of flack behind that, right? In fact, his status is questionable up at ADX right now. It shocked everyone when Raul Leon was doing interviews. And I've shown an episode before where Raul Leon was actually captured on video talking about cops not being off limits. Everybody's seen that clip. No need to post it here. But Raul Leon liked to hear himself speak. And he did that in MSNBC Lockup Raw or one of those episodes there. And that was the first person. After that, nobody did it because Weddle Sherm caught a lot of heat behind that. In fact, he's still catching heat behind it. I dare say that he regrets doing that. He regrets doing that. But that was 20-something years ago. That was 25 years ago, maybe more, that he did that. Since then, there's been a flurry of postings on social media, and it's kind of taken me aback. I do it, but I'm not a member anymore. In fact, I'm on disregard, I'm on the list, I'm all those things. We all know that, right? So for active members to do interviews is a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game. And, I scroll social media, I search out stuff, and I've seen so much that it's just shocking now that everybody and their grandma is posting. In fact, let's go to the first clip. This is Alfred Sandoval, Chato from Maravilla, Arizona Maravilla to be exact. In fact, he's the guy that got the Maravillas off the green light list and brought them back into the fold. But I was scrolling through social media a while back, and I saw this clip here. Let's listen to it. This is Chato doing an interview for a group called GOGI. GOGI is an acronym for Getting Out by Going In. I think that's the name, right? It's a self-help group, totally inmate-led. There are no real therapists in there. It's just inmates teaching other inmates how to cope, right? And I was asked to participate in this group while I was incarcerated, and I refused. I adamantly refused when I found out Mexican Mafia members were writing the curriculum. Absolutely not. I was not going to participate in that group. But let's listen to Chato here. He's doing an interview for GOGI that is now posted on social media.
How can you put this tool to work, or how did you? And it's on. Everybody listens and everybody contributes. And then we all discuss everything. And a lot of stuff I've talked about, I've never talked about before. I never have. They ask, I tell them. Vice versa. I ask, they tell me. It really is a community that we have together. And the thing is, the respect. Everybody respects what we say.
Everybody respects what they say because they are Mexican Mafia members. I mean, he has leadership and command presence emanating from him right here. Just look at that image right there. That is a Mexican Mafia leader that's well respected in the organization. And of course, the group members are going to follow that leadership. I mean, they have charisma. And Chato's a gangster. He's a gangster's gangster. And I'll say this, for rehabilitative groups, you do form a community. So what he's saying may very well be true, but I think it's very hard to validate that I'm part of a rehabilitative community when you're actively a Mexican Mafia member involved in Mexican Mafia business.
We all respect each other. And if somebody's talking over somebody, say, wait, let him finish. It's a respect thing. That's it. It's real. It's genuine.
So that's Chato Sandoval, Mexican Mafia member, talking about his rehabilitative group, GOGI. I've never participated in this group. And again, I'll reiterate, I did not want to participate. Number one, because I didn't believe in the curriculum. Number two, I didn't believe in the people who were heads of the curriculum. And I just wouldn't participate in anything like that. It may work for these guys. I am a firm believer in rehabilitation. Believe you me. Any man can change. And however you get to rehabilitation, you get there. But I think anyone would be hard-pressed to say that Mexican Mafia members who are active have been rehabilitated. And I'm not throwing stones at Chato or anybody here. I'm just saying when it comes to the board and they view this, they're going to also look at what is called the confidential file. It's filled with 1030s, law enforcement documents, 302s, wiretap. It's filled with everything. And they're going to look at that and say, how, on the one hand, are you saying you are a rehabilitated individual, head of this group, and on the other hand, you are documented as ordering this and doing this and orchestrating peace treaties and doing all this stuff. Orchestrating peace treaties and doing all this stuff. It's like the complete opposite of rehabilitation, right? And that's what they're ultimately going to have to face. The next one is Daryl Baca. This is Night Off from Artesia, Mexican Mafia member, very influential, currently housed at Pelican Bay State Prison. This was my cellie and my good friend at one time. But I also saw this clip in that same series of interviews for Gogi, because Daryl Baca is also a member of Gogi. And this is him talking about his experience or what he wants to say in this interview.
First and foremost, I'd like to apologize to my victim's family. I have no excuses for my behavior, only explanations.
Daryl Baca and the board, if he gave that answer, would get tore up. They would tear him up. They'd ask him, what are your explanations? Tell me what your explanation is. They would cross him up with that response. That's just a heads up. That's like opening a barn door for the board, right? I think the simple answer, I have no excuses for what I've done. I accept full responsibility, and I apologize sincerely to the surviving members of my victim's family and his friends and anybody impacted by my crime. It's pretty short and simple, right? But with that I only have excuses. That they're going to tear him up on that. But this is also on social media, and I'm shocked that Mexican Mafia members, made guys, are doing this and agreeing to it. Obviously, it's been agreed upon by these members because they both did it, right? Other members at Pelican Bay had to know about it.
And I also want to apologize to my community for terrorizing it when I was 19 years old.
The board is going to tear him up on that as well. You talked about terrorizing the community. You're apologizing to him for terrorizing the community at 19 years old. You are a made Mexican Mafia member. You are a documented and validated Mexican Mafia member, and you're still considered in good standing. Are you not still terrorizing the community? That's what the board's going to hit him with. They're going to tear him up. They're going to tear him up with this. I mean, the board is a science, right? Going there, you have to devote years and years and years to understanding insight, accepting responsibility, addressing your character defects. And that's exactly what they're going to look at right here. They are going to take this and pick him apart. I would think he would get a 5 to 7 year denial. If he gets a 3-year denial, he'll be lucky. I think he's going next year to the board as well.
I also want my community to know that I'm not the same person I was 37 years ago.
I think the board would address that as well. We'll say, well, who are you then, Mr. Baca? You are not the same person. You're an immature 19-year-old who committed a youthful offender act, crime that cost somebody their lives, but you went on to become a Mexican Mafia member. You are now a leader in the Mexican Mafia, and you're well respected. One of the commission members that is currently in existence, who are you then? Is that who you are? Because that's what your seat file says. Tell us who you are. They're gonna hit him hard. And Chato as well. They're gonna say the same thing. You are a commission member. You are a member of the Mesa. Tell us who you are, because your seat file says that exactly.
As you can see, I'm a lot older, older than most of these people in here. I want to assure them that I would be a good neighbor. They can trust in me. I'm a different person, a man of integrity. And I want them to know that Gogi has made a difference in my life. And for all the youngsters out there, things are changing. I want to be part of that change. I want to make a difference. I believe I can. And I'm waiting. I'm waiting to be part of the solution. Thank you, Gogi.
Yeah, Daryl's going to get torn up on all that. That last part. I'm going to wait to be part of the solution. And the board will hit him first. Well, why aren't you part of the solution now? And is your active Mexican Mafia membership part of that solution? How can you come before this board and say that you are a part of the solution if you're actually the problem? So this is the social media stuff they're putting out. This is the Mexican Mafia members putting this out themselves. And I'm just looking at it from the perspective of how it's going to be viewed by BPH, Board of Prison Hearings. BPH, Board of Prison Hearings, California Parole Board, right? I'm looking at it like that. And I'm also looking at like what message is this sending to Sureños? That it's okay to do interviews, that it's okay to get up and put yourself on social media. I mean, these are real mobsters, not Sureños or camaradas or people who don't know. These are real mobsters doing this. And I'm not critiquing them because they're attempting to change the narrative. They're attempting to establish who they are for specifically for the board. Because I think each of them have aspirations of paroling. Each person that is doing this has an aspiration to parole. Everybody wants to get out. Nobody wants to die in there. Even Chato's going to be eligible with a new law coming up for LWOPs, right? So I think that is the attempt here to change the narrative of who they are. Because for the history of their existence in the organization, mainstream media has dictated their narrative. Mexican Mafia members, killers, cutthroats, untrustworthy, banes to society, dregs of society. So they're trying to change that. And I see that here, right? I think it's a great concept, but is it great for the Mexican Mafia as a whole? The next guy, Mark Iquitos, was a friend of mine. One of the first things that came to my mind was when he was in county jail and he was on a tier with a lot of black inmates. And the black inmates stole his money. They cut off his little money bag when he was sleeping and they stole his money. So Mark Iquitos went in there by himself and started stabbing a whole group of black inmates. Like they were beasts. But Marky was a little guy. He went in there with a knife and started stabbing them. Boom, boom, boom. They beat Marky almost to death. He got off. And they carried him out of there on a gurney, and he would not let go of the knife. It was stuck in his hand. He was unconscious, but the knife was stuck in his hand. He would not let it go. Marky got made. In fact, I remember another incident in Folsom State Prison. He had a homeboy, Bully Pete from Colton, and Bully Pete was a bully. That's why they named him that. And he bullied Marky, and he came to us and asked if he could whack him, and we gave him the go-ahead. Said, yeah, go ahead, Marky. Because Marky was our buddy, right? This was before he was a cardan. And he went and whacked his homeboy with a massive knife. I mean, this thing had to have been like 12 to 14 inches long, stuck it through his neck, and he did that. He did that. And Bully Pete wasn't bullying nobody no more. He survived, but he obviously got the message not to bully Marky, right? So Marky comes out and does this interview on another YouTube channel, right?
Pelican Bay was designed to break inmates. It was designed on the way military make their places of detention, to segregate, to isolate and segregate where there's no contact, where there's no communication. So that it frustrated me, it made me angry, but it also made me want to fight to get out. Because some of the guys were losing hope, thinking we're never going to get out.
I'll say that Pelican Bay was designed to inhibit communication and social interaction, and it was effective. It got to the point in Pelican Bay when they created even before the short quarter programs, there was such isolation that the organization began to go to war with itself. The C&D facility war, the short quarter program, believe it or not, they were at the cusp of breaking the M with that design in Pelican Bay. It was designed specifically to inhibit communication, human contact, and social interaction. And it was having the desired effect. It was having the desired effect. And I've heard before that Pelican Bay broke you. Pelican Bay didn't break me. I broke me. I was just tired. And I was scared. I'll tell you the truth. Living that way day after day, year after year, with the constant politics, yeah, I was done, man. But Pelican Bay didn't do it. Pelican Bay was nothing to me. It was just another cell where I could sleep and do my routine, right? One cell is the same as any other cell. I don't care if you're an ADSEG, the SHU, the SMU, AdMax, don't care where you are. The cell's not going to break you. You're going to break you. So Marky goes ahead and does this interview, right? This is the third cardan I've seen doing an interview on social media that's going out to millions of people. Millions of people. Just think of all the people that utilize social media every day. And everybody knows Mark Iquitos. Marky's from Colton. He's a Mexican Mafia member. He's been around for years. He's one of the veteran members now. He's a made guy, right? So the public seeing this, and let me say in each, Chato's interview, Daryl's interview, and Marky's interview, they do not mention the word the Mexican Mafia, nor are those questions posed. So they refrain from discussing the organization. They're talking about rehabilitation. And I see what the objective is. It's to change the narrative, which is, it's a smart idea, right? Social media is social media, and it's been advantageous for some and detrimental to others. I think this is detrimental to the organization because the organization is a secret criminal organization that is not so secret, right? Everybody's posting Everybody's talking about it. It is not the secret that it once was. I remember at a time in my career when you couldn't even say the word Mexican Mafia if you weren't Mexican Mafia. You couldn't even utter M. You know, camaradas would talk about it, but they would say big homies or, you know, the fifth tier, guys from the fifth tier up in San Quentin, or the guys in the back in the shoe. The guys in the back in the shoe. They wouldn't say carnales. It was very rare. Only camaradas would talk about, you know, the carnales in a semi-open sense, but it was amongst themselves. And these were true camaradas, not these new fandango guys that consider themselves camaradas at 19, 20, 25 years old just because they're a sureño or a Southsider. They think they're a camarada. No, it don't work that way. Not to the organization, it don't. So that's Marky Quito's interview, and it's extensive, right? Chato's and Daryl's were pretty brief. I think there are other clips out there, and there's other stuff, but I pulled these. The next person is old Johnny Martinez. In fact, we did a little clip of this, and we're going to do another clip here where Johnny Martinez is speaking to Lucky from Hoodstocks. This shocked everybody. This is the one that shocked everybody. Because prior to this, Johnny Martinez did a full-on interview with Matt Ormseth of the Los Angeles Times, which also shocked everybody. Here's a made guy facing federal RICO indictment doing interviews about his case, which is not smart to begin with, right?
You know, I just want people in those media organizations, since they love to report so much, that, you know, they really need to do their homework and start digging into this case and go all the way back, you know, to when I was in prison, when we were challenging the Orange County DA for them trying to get a gang injunction on my old neighborhood.
So Johnny Martinez is talking about a media needing to go back and investigate the original gang injunction. He talks extensively. The problem with Johnny Martinez is he thinks he's intelligent, and he is. Maybe a little too intelligent for his own good. You can't outwit the federal government with smooth talk and articulacy. You can't. You can't. You cannot do that.
You know, that right there, that didn't sit well with them.
So Johnny Martinez goes on and does this stuff, right? So you have multiple Mexican Mafia members participating in social media interviews, right? And it's contrary to what the Mexican Mafia is, right? It's a secret criminal organization. And these guys are well-known Mexican Mafia members. It's not a secret that these guys are the mob. And the general public sees this, and the Mexican Mafia then becomes a common spoken word when it's a secret criminal organization. That's the problem here, that they're making it common practice to appear on social media, and everybody picks up on the cue. Everybody's picked up on this cue. In fact, I've shown you the Mexican Mafia members who've done this. Let's go next. This is Ronnie Yandel, Aryan Brotherhood member. I've watched his episodes. He has an active YouTube channel from his cell on a cell phone doing episodes, stuff that pertains to the prison culture, right? This is an active AB guy that's doing social media content from his cell on a cell phone, knowing that law enforcement is watching, and he's advertising he has a cell phone, number one. Now, I'm not critiquing anybody for doing what they're doing. I'm just saying you're from a secret criminal organization. Is it the best practice to put out business on social media? Is it the best practice for your specific organization to do that, right? And I say no. I wouldn't dare get on social media if I was an active mobster. I was offered interviews a couple of times. In fact, when I was selling with Daryl, Fox News wanted to interview me, and I said, nah, absolutely not. I showed Daryl the letter from Chris Blatchford. Chris Blatchford wanted, I said, nah, I'm not down. I'm not down with any of that. And I just wouldn't do it, right? Because I was a firm believer that we are part of a secret criminal organization, and we shouldn't speak about anything, even if it's talking about vanilla ice cream or surfing or fishing. No, you're not going to get me on social media. Was I ever in the news? I was all over the news. They would regularly run stories on me, but I couldn't prevent that. And the reality is I enjoyed being on the news. It boosted my super inflated ego. I thought that I had arrived, like, yeah, check them out. They think I'm important, you know, and it gave me that false sense of importance, right? So I'm not going to deny that. So you have multiple Mexican Mafia members and an AB guy, multiple people up there putting content out. And it just shocked me that an AB guy, a made AB guy, active guy, a made Mexican Mafia members are doing this. The next guy that I saw doing it, but he's kind of limited in what he does because he's in Supermax in the feds at ADX in Florence. That's Skip Villanueva. That's a general in the feds, in federal prison, that regularly puts out overt communication about the peace treaty or the agreement to cease hostilities between the NF and the Mexican Mafia. He's adamantly opposed to it. Guy's a gangster in his own right, and he puts it out there. He don't care who reads it. He's putting it out. That's his only form of mass communication that he has. So he has his girl put out these filters. The NF call them filters, right? And he's all over social media. I regularly see it. That's where I got these clips from, these images from. And he does it as well. So you got the AB, the MA, the NF, all utilizing social media. Some of them to put out their organizational business, and Skip puts out organizational business. Then we have Carnales' wives posting on social media. On the left is Victor Gallegos, psycho from Santa Monica, well known allegedly on the mess up of the organization, currently in Los Angeles County Jail. He's putting out pictures on social media, or his wife or family members putting out social media. And then on the right is Victor Acuna, that's Terco from Bassett. His wife is prolific at posting images. I see them all the time, right? And these images are up there. They are now like public access, right? These are posted on a regular basis, and these are Mexican Mafia members, right? Before, nobody would do this. Social media didn't exist in my time. I think this is a result of cell phones being introduced into prisons. Like last year alone, 11,000 cell phones were confiscated in the CDCR. 11,000 cell phones. Like that's what they found, not what currently exists, right? Because I think you got 2-3 times that number of cell phones in prisons now. People have access to social media. And people see the ease with which they can post and comment. I've seen videos from in the cell, outside the cell, people making pruno, people assaulting other people. And inmates will stand at the window of their cell, videotape it, and then post it. That's the level that this has got to now. It's become like a plague. Even active Sureños doing this. Active Sureños posting videos. In fact, we're going to get to a couple of them that really caught my attention. But this is, again, Victor Gallegos and Victor Acuna, both the tocayos, right? Whose images are posted on social media. The next is Jorge Gonzalez, George Caballo Gonzalez from 18th Street. That's him and his wife. In fact, his wife was just indicted for the MacArthur Park raid. She posted bail. And George is a very influential Mexican Mafia member as well. I was shocked when I seen him because he's pretty conservative. He's always concerned about political controversy. And I was pretty shocked when I saw his image up there on social media. It just shocked me, right? Because I've always known George to be very conservative. In fact, when there's political controversy, he stays in the middle and see what side's going to win, then he jumps to that side. He's always been that way. But there's him that posts as well, or his wife. And then let's save the best for last. I saved the best too for last. And this one I've done multiple episodes on. That's Cecilia Sky Virgin. And she's hooked up with Leonardo Laredo, wizard from Valencia 13. That's a booking photo when she was arrested in Kansas, the first photo with the sharp eyebrows on the left. And that's her after her redo. That's her. She posts this herself. She's all over social media. In fact, she has videos of her in front of MDC in downtown LA with banda and mariachis out there singing corridos that are written for Wizard. They have barbecues. All the homeboys from Florencia come. And she's out there in public. She's out there, so she's got the attention she wanted, right? She's putting it out there. She's hooked up with Wizard. She's taken over a store called LA Sky Boutique, and that's what she looks like today. And the very last one, that is the daughter of Papa Roman, Viana Roman.
I was tempted, tempted by your smile. I was tempted, and for a...
So that's a montage of photos of her. Viana Roman is formed after her release from prison. I think she did 13 years straight for a federal RICO indictment in the United States of America versus Viana Roman et al. She was indicted for running her father's crew. She ran a really big crew, and she was really efficient. She's got great managerial skills, right? And she was involved in it. She was with the business, right? And that's her today. She's created a bit of a social media empire, and she's coming out with a new book. I wanted to plug her book. That's it there, Queen of South Central LA. I don't know if it's in publication yet. It's coming out soon. Make sure and get yourselves a copy. I'm going to get me one because I think it's going to be a great story, right? It's going to be the story told from her view. And we all know the story from the United States Attorney's point of view and the media, but nobody's really heard her story, so that's a plug for her book. I wish her well. She's taken something from the ashes of her life, and I don't care if she has its only fan page or anything like that. You got to respect the hustle, and there's a lot of people throwing rocks that she has an OnlyFans page. I don't care about that. She's hustling, and she's doing it legitimately. So anybody doing that, and she's not involved in criminal activity anymore. That's what I can say about her. To best of my knowledge. To the best of my knowledge. Leave your comments. I want this thing flooded with comments. And hype this video. All right, folks. With that said, that'll conclude this episode. Have a great day. Peace out.